Pro-democracy activist Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 12 months in prison for his activism in one of the biggest anti-Beijing protests in 2019. His sentence comes under Beijing's sweeping national security law. Lai has been charged with more national security offences, including unlawful gathering. He has been charged with 2 more crimes, including foreign collusion and for trying to help the local activists to flee to Taiwan. As the authorities continue to pursue a deluge of cases against the city's most high-profile dissidents, Barrister Martin Lee, who is widely known as the father of Hong Kong democracy, has been handed a suspended sentence. The sentencing of Jimmy Lai comes on a day when he is facing 4 different court appearances. He faces sentencing for another protest case along with another hearing for a fraud case related to his company. Joining us for more on this broadcast is wion correspondent Richard Kimber, who joins us from Hong Kong. Richard, over to you. What's the latest that you're picking up?
Yes, outside court here is another day of drama in Hong Kong, where some of the most high-profile figures in the pro-democracy movement have been in court yet again. As you've mentioned, Jimmy Lai handed a 12-month sentence. Others handed an 18-month down to a 9-month sentence for their involvement in organising and taking part in a huge protest that took place back in 2019. There was some leniency, as you've mentioned, towards 4 of the 9 defendants, many of whom are in their early 80s or late 60s, really older members of the pro-democracy movement here in Hong Kong. They've been given suspended sentences, but nevertheless there was still a gasp in the media room here at the court as these sentences were read out, as many people were surprised by how tough the judge was being, having previously laid out how many letters she had received pleading for mitigation towards these individuals, many of whom have led a long life of public service as lawmakers or as teachers or as other members of the public sector during their careers before and during their time as activists.
Richard, several Western nations have said this is simply Hong Kong's crackdown on any pro-democracy movement under Beijing's sweeping national security laws. Is that the feeling among Hong Kongers as well?
Well, very much so. All the critics of the law and these prosecutions are saying that this is an effort by the government and by prosecutors simply to lay charge upon charge upon charge on some of these most high-profile activists. Many of the leading members of the pro-democracy movement and former opposition lawmakers have been hit not just with 1 charge but multiple charges over previous months. Jimmy Lai is a perfect case in point. He's got multiple charges against him, even ongoing now. There is another case being sentenced just as we stand here at the moment for Jimmy Lai, who has literally walked out of one courtroom into another simply to be sentenced for a second time. So even with those 2 sentences having been laid in place, there are now 2 much more serious national security offences that he'll be facing in the coming months, which could lead to much longer jail terms. So the sense here among critics of the national security law is there's a concerted effort on the part of authorities to lay consistent charges against some of these activists simply to ensure that they remain in continued custody. Even if in some cases they're released on bail for one, they'll be held in custody for others.
Richard Kimber, thank you so much for joining us from Hong Kong with the latest on this big developing story.